All right, so I'm going to talk about the value of a job and pretty much how wages are determined within a job. Because everyone wants to make more money, everyone wants to get a higher raise or a larger bonus at the end of the day. And a lot of people don't understand the reason about why they don't get a higher raise or a larger bonus, or they just don't understand why their salary or wages aren't that high. And that's kind of what I'm going to explain today. And it pretty much goes down to not understanding the labor market, because the labor market is the same thing as any other market. It is completely determined by supply and demand. You have to think about your job as selling a service. So instead of selling a product, you are selling your labor to the company. And in exchange, that labor that they get, you get a paycheck in return. That's how you should think about your job. And so in any kind of marketplace, whether it's products or services, when there's a lot of supply for the product or service, then that means the cost of that product and service decreases. That is the same thing with the job. When there's a lot of people in the same industry at a job, then that means the wages for that job will decrease. The reason for it is because there's an abundance of people willing to do that service. And the more people that are willing to do that service, the more likely there is someone to be willing to do that same service at the same quality for a lower price. And this is what we call a race to the bottom. A race to the bottom is when people will keep underbidding for how much they were willing to do that service for, all the way up until that last person in the entire industry says, you know what, this is the lowest I'm going to go to do this service for. And that is the bottom price. That is the market value for that job. Now, when people are supplying this service, you have to remember that not everyone provides this service at the same quality. So some people have more experience, which means that they might be able to get the job done quicker, or they might have other experiences that can increase the value that they provide to this business. So it's not always a race to the bottom for every single industry. There are nuances within it. But just in general, when we're looking at the marketplace as a whole, the more people willing to provide that service to a company, the lower the wages will be for that job. The next part is the demand side. So this is what companies are looking for in services. If a lot of companies are looking for a specific service that you provide, which means that a certain kind of job that every company is looking for, then that means the wages for that job will increase because there's such a high demand for it. If they want that service done, they will pay more money to get that done. And how much money will they pay to get that service done? Well, it determines about how much demand there is for it. If there's an insane amount of demand, they'll pay almost anything to get that service completed. While a job that doesn't have a lot of demand isn't going to pay very much. For example, if your skill set is a newspaper delivery driver, the demand for that is exceptionally low because how many people today get newspapers delivered to their door? There's almost no demand for that, which means that there's almost no demand for newspaper delivery drivers, which means if that is your skill set, kind of SOL. So that's kind of how the labor marketplace works. It's really all determined by supply and demand, and there's other things that kind of change within it, like location is a big one, or your skill set, your education. All those things kind of determine the wages a little bit, but it's all largely supply and demand. If there's a lot of people in the industry doing the same service, you're going to be racing to the bottom for your wages. While a company has a high demand for a certain skill set that you have, they'll pay a lot of money to get that service completed. One thing I want to mention real quick is I notice a lot of people, when they talk about wages, especially minimum wages, people think that they deserve to be paid more, or that they deserve benefits. They deserve health care. They deserve a 401k matching. They deserve PTO. And basically what I'm going to say is you deserve nothing. Like, companies don't owe you anything. And you have to stop thinking when you are getting a job or looking for a job that companies owe you something or that you deserve something because of X, Y, and Z. Like, nobody cares that you have a family. No one cares that you have a kid you need to raise. No one cares that you have rent to pay or a mortgage to pay off or that you have a car to pay off. That doesn't matter. None of that has anything to do with how much money you should make, because it just is completely insignificant. The only thing that matters is what value you provide to other people. So if you provide a lot of value to your company will reward you in the end. And if they don't, find a company that will reward you. Because if there actually is value in what you provide in your service, they will reward you with a nice paycheck. And so I kind of want to get people away from this idea of that they deserve something from a company, because you really don't deserve anything. No one deserves anything. It's a cruel world, right? And what I'm trying to get here is that a job is really just a contract. You say, I have a service that I can provide to you, XYZ company, and in exchange, I want this amount in a paycheck. And that is the agreement. Now, some people might want in that agreement as a reward, maybe not just a paycheck, but they also want healthcare, or they want PTO, or they want X, Y, and Z benefits, right? And that's fine. That you just have to understand that it's a contract that you negotiate with the company. The company doesn't owe you PTO. If you want PTO, negotiate getting PTO. And if they say like no, that means you don't provide enough value to that company for them to offer you PTO. Which really should put in your mind thinking, hey, maybe I should restructure how I provide value to this company so that I do get PTO, right? The more value you provide, the more stuff they're going to give you in return. And this is kind of a lot to do with like financial freedom. A big thing of financial freedom is like providing that value to other people to get a lot of money in exchange. And when you get that money in exchange, then you kind of invest it in the S&P 500, or invest it in these stocks and bonds and CD laddering, or whatever you want to invest it in. That's a big thing that they focus on in financial freedom. And in this video, I'm going to try and focus a little bit on something different, which is the S&P 500. That I don't know if he coined it or something, but it's brought up a lot by Alex Hormozi, entrepreneur. You should definitely check him out. But what this basically means, the S&P 500 instead of the S&P 500, is invest in yourself, right? It's nice that you can put money in the S&P 500 and it makes 10% a year, then really 8% adjusted for inflation or whatever. And then over 40 years, you're going to be a millionaire. So basically what he's trying to say with this, and what I also agree with here, is to invest in yourself. Find skill sets to add value to companies and other people so that way you get a larger paycheck. Because earning more money is more important than just investing the small amounts of money that you're making right now. And that's kind of a big point that I'm trying to make, is just invest more in yourself, right? That's the idea. Another point I want to make is misunderstanding value. So a problem that some people might have in the labor market is that either the employee or the employer does not understand the value of the service being provided. When the employee does not understand the value of their service, they will be paid lower than the market rate. This is because they don't know what they actually provide in value, and so they'll just provide that service for whatever they think the market value is, and if it's a lot lower, then the employer will take advantage of that and say, well, if you think it's worth below market value, then I'm going to pay you below market value. And so that could be a problem with a lot of workers if they don't understand the value that they provide. And so in that scenario, I'd recommend just figure out the value that you provide. Like, go look at the median and average wages for that industry and for the job that you're doing and the value that you provide, right? And then from there, negotiate with your boss. And if they don't like it, well, you know what the market rate is. Go find another job in the same industry, all right? But on the other side, when the employer doesn't understand the value, what's really going to happen is that they're going to put up a job or have a job opening that has the wages for a certain position lower than the market rate, because they don't know the value of the service that someone is providing. And what's essentially going to happen is either you're going to have a significantly high turnover rate because someone's going to get the job, realize they're getting shit wages, and they're not getting anything out of it, and they know they can go somewhere else to get more money, so then they leave really quickly, and this keeps cycling. Or that job will just stay vacant for a long time because the employer doesn't understand that's not the market rate for that position. To sum it all up, basically work in your job is just a contract with the company. The company needs a service completed, and you provide that service for that company. In exchange, the company gives you a paycheck and some benefits. If you're unhappy with how much you are making or the benefits that you receive, you simply have to provide more value to that company. Or if you are under the market value for what your service you're providing, you need to then switch positions and switch jobs and go to a different company that will provide you the market rate for your job. But simply put, the more value you provide to other people, the more money you will make. So if you're unhappy about your wages, you have to look inwards and say, what can I do to improve other people's lives and provide value to other people? Because then that will improve your life.